Welcome to Old Goats Moto. Today, we're going over tanks and which is best for you.
All right, so we're going to talk about these three different tanks. We have this stock 2.2 gallon tank, an Acerbis, I don't know what you call it.
Whatever.
I'm going to go with Acerbis. This is a 3.2. We're going to call this range of tanks the 3+ tanks. And then we have an IMS 4.25. We'll call these the 4+ tanks. Acerbis also makes a tank about that size. We'll go over a couple specs on them. We're going to go over how many hours of riding you should get out of each tank, how many miles, the fuel weight, and then also the width of the tank, about where your knees are at. So first one we have is the stock fuel tank, 2.2 gallons. You'll get about 3.3 hours of riding out of it. We're talking an average of 30 miles an hour. You'll go 99 miles on this tank. It weighs 13.3, 13.5 pounds for the fuel weight on this. And the width of it is about 13 inches wide at the knees. The Acerbis, this is a 3.2. You'll get about 4.5 hours of riding out of this, 135 miles. Fuel weight is 19.5 pounds, and it is also 13 inches wide. So basically equal width to the stock tank. And then we have this monster. Well, it looks like I'm struggling with it. Those two are empty. This one still has fuel in it. This is the 4.25 gallon tank. You'll get 6.3 hours of riding out of it, 189 miles, 26.5 pounds of fuel in it, and it is about 16 inches wide on this one, so significantly wider than the other two. One of the hardest things to measure are the ergonomics on a tank. So we're going to take these three tanks, we're going to put them on a bike, and I'll stand up, sit down, and move around on it just to show you kind of how each tank fits.
So we have the 4 gallon and we have a 3 gallon. And so what I'm going to do is superimpose the 3 gallon on top of the 4 gallon. So we'll go about half. And we'll drop it about 50% opacity. So now when we scroll back and forth on these, we can see that we lined up the tanks as best we could. The seat is lined up pretty good. Radiators are lined up pretty good. Don't worry about the bars. They got turned a little bit, but for all intents and purposes, the tanks are both lined up as good as we can, or best we can. So the first thing to note is where his knees are. Now, this right knee didn't move for some reason, so he must be kind of cockeyed on the bike. But if you look at his left knee, so his left knee right here this is where it is on the 4 gallon tank. And then up here is where it is on the 3 gallon tank. Some other things to note, if you look at the orange radiator shrouds, this is the 4 gallon. And then this smaller black one is the 3 gallon radiator shroud. So that right there shows you the difference in width between the 3 and the 4. It's pretty significant. Now, if we come over here to our the photo of us seeing how far up on the tank, when you need to be up on the tank, how far you can go with the 3. This is the 4 here, and I did the same thing where I superimposed the 3 on top of the 4. You can really see the difference here. You can see the black fender or radiator shroud right here, which is the 3 gallon. And then when you bring back in the 4-gallon, you can see how much further out the 4 is compared to the 3. And so he's all the way forward. His legs are spread. He's up on the tank as much as he can on the 4-gallon. But then look what happens when he sits on the 3-gallon. And let me drop that opacity or increase that opacity. He has slid much further up onto the tank. His knees are a little bit narrower. And like I said, he's able to get further up onto the front end of the bike. And because there's no fuel up in this area up in here, basically the fuel stops right behind the radiator. You don't have that added weight out front or up high like you do on the 4-gallon tank. So when you look at the 4-gallon tank, it's just so much bigger. And the ergonomics are so much different riding the 3-gallon opposed to the 4-gallon. That this, like we talked about, is kind of the Goldilocks of tanks.
All right, so which tank do you think is best for you? Or which tank is one of these tanks for? This is a stock tank. It's going to be for the guy that doesn't plan on riding any long distances, doesn't want to spend any money to upgrade, and maybe is just going to put this bike in the back of his truck, take it up to the mountains or wherever, unload it, go ride 90 miles, 100 miles, bring it back, load it up, and come back home. He's not into long excursions and exploring. That's who I would probably say is for that stock tank.
Yeah, it might be someone who lives up in the mountains and they just need a bike to run to the store and get beer and then go putt around in the hills. Or maybe you're some sort of supermoto bro and you're just running around town. You don't need to go that far between fill-ups. So if that's the tank you're going to run, I kind of feel like you bought the wrong bike. 500 is a great adventure bike, and you got to have miles to get adventures in. So if you have that tank, maybe you should have bought a KTM 300 or a 450 or something.
Yeah, agreed. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum, and we are definitely on the other end, right? Stock tank, 99 miles, 4+ gallon, 189-ish miles, something like that. This is definitely the other end of the spectrum. This is for the guy that is going to be doing those BDRs, those long distances in between fuel stations, doesn't want to carry a bladder of fuel on him. And this is going to be a guy that is going to be primarily on 2-track roads, gravel roads, highway, gravel roads, stuff like that. This guy isn't typically on a single track. He's not aggressive in his riding style. He's just enjoying his time on the bike in between fuel stops. What's your thoughts on this, since this is your tank?
Yeah, I feel like you're picking on me now, Kevin, because that kind of describes me. This has been my tank for the last 3 or 4 years. It's good for long distance. When we were in Death Valley, this tank worked great. I was never concerned about running out of fuel. In fact, when other people did run out of fuel, we just popped the hose off the side and pumped some fuel into their tank. It is not ergonomically friendly for the type of riding we typically do. When I bought the bike, I thought we were going to be doing long-range adventure riding, and it turns out we do a lot of long-range single track. So I was considering buying a new tank when we were in Utah this last trip, and so I jumped on Kevin's bike with the 3-gallon, and it was night and day difference. Being able to get up on the front of the bike, it made the bike feel a lot wider and much more nimble. So this is a good tank if you're doing long distance BDRs. But then again, maybe you should have bought a GS 800. I don't know.
That's a possibility, for sure. So then we'll bring in what I consider the Goldilocks of tanks in between these 3 tanks, right? The 3+ gallon. This is what I run on my 500. This is what I ride on my 300. And Jason's finally coming to see the light. He's going to run it on his. This is the best of both worlds because it's bigger than the small tank, but it's much smaller than the large tank. it has basically the same ergonomics of the stock tank, but you get more mileage out of it. 99 here, 130 something with this one here. And actually the actual weight of the tank itself, because they use a little bit thinner plastic, this one weighs 5.3 pounds. This is like 6.2 pounds. So just the tank itself is a little bit lighter. Now you're gonna put more fuel in it, so it'll be a little bit heavier, but you get the longer distance. This bike or this tank is gonna be for the guy that wants to do some distance, but he also wants to ride aggressively whenever he gets to the dirt. And this tank allows you, like Jason was saying, and we've seen in the videos, allows you to get up on the tank and move around in the cockpit. This is gonna be the guy that wants to go distance, but he also wants to ride aggressive. What's your thoughts?
I agree with Kevin on this. This is the Goldilocks of tanks for a KTM 500. You get the increased range without the cumbersome ergonomics of the large tank. One thing that does change on these is the fuel cap. So on the KTM 500 stock tank, you have a quarter turn, low profile cap. And on these aftermarket tanks, you have a bigger, bulkier cap that sticks up. Your breather hose comes out the top. If you're trying to run a tank bag, it kind of gets in the way. So on this tank, I'm trying out the Taco Moto 90-degree valve. I've got a video coming out on that. It's a pretty straightforward install, but not as easy as you would think.
So we've shown you 3 different tanks. We've shown you kind of the ergonomics of somebody standing and sitting on the bike. Let us know in the comments. You think we got it right? We get it wrong? What's your opinion? What's your thoughts? What tank do you run? With that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, we'll see you out on the trail.